Om Sadashivasamārambhāṁ Shankaracharya-madhyamāṁ Asmadacharya-paryantām Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay, we did the 9th verse last time. Any questions or clarifications up to there? Okay.
So, Swami, just one clarification. So you had explained udasinam with respect to other people as accommodating them.
Yeah.
Is that any different than samadhanam in the Shat Sampatti?
Yeah. See, samadhanam comes to just acceptance of people, forbearance. Whereas udasinam goes a little bit more. A little bit more. It looks as though you don't care. You care, but you let it be. It's what I would call indifference with a difference. Okay. Indifference with a difference. Because you do care for people. You do. At the same time, you let them be. It's like saying, I let my brother go to the devil in his own way. I try to stop him, he's not. You know, you have to experience and learn. Some things can't be taught. You have to go through that experience to learn it. That type of an attitude to have. You know? You can.
So how?
Yeah.
Sorry, Swamiji, I'm trying to understand what is the subtlety in the difference between the two. I guess
when you say samadhanam, acceptance of people, forbearance. Okay. Udasinam, it would be one step more than that. Yeah. Like a parent letting a child fall so that the child will learn to get up. It's only at that time that thing comes up. After that, doesn't come up. Then all the control starts. There, thank God. Otherwise, it will be still crawling. That way, no? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So to let a person grow with their own experience, do not in your love and affection being overprotective about them. You know. It's something like this lady you might know. I was attending her daughter's wedding. And I know her pretty well. I know her for years. Okay. I knew her father for years. And so in the wedding, I pick up fine things sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So I said, you're not too happy with the whole thing. He said, Swamiji, I give this marriage only 6 months. I'm getting it done. I'm conducting the marriage. I'm getting it all done. But I know this is not, I know both of them, my daughter and the boy, they will not be able to get along. But I am letting her learn from her own experience. Both of them are adamant on getting married. So I am letting them learn from their own. Now this was one of the really classical cases of how udasinam is supposed to be. You know, otherwise udasinam means just indifference. Okay? Among the sadhus there is an udasin sampradaya. They don't bother about anything. So, you go to their ashram. You know, for food, Piksha time you go, if you are a sadhu, you are given food. Food is never refused. But you know how it is? You sit on your haunches. There is nothing place for you to sit, etc. Yes. Then, they'll come around with rotis. 2 nice big rotis, enough for a full meal. And where do you take the rotis? Karatala Bhiksha in a hand. And where do they put the sabji? On top of it. So they don't even bother to use plates. They're indifferent to everything. Now that is different. That's indifference. No? Don't bother, don't care. Here it is not there. Yeah. And here we are talking in terms of Ishvara. Therefore, akarta abhokta. Karmani akarmaya pasya. That is the Audasinam here. When you are talking about Ishvara. Okay? Yeah. That's the thing. Okay. Any other clarifications?
So, Swamiji, what would you say this chalta hai attitude would be?
Indifference, indolence,
Not udasi.
not udasinam like how it is meant here. See, that's why I'm saying we are using the implied meaning of udasinam, whereas udasinam direct meaning is indifference. That's why if you use there's a vat there, udasina vat asina. When you use those terms like vat, iva, etc. in Sanskrit, it means it's not exactly the same. It is similar, but there is a difference there.
Thank you.
So that is the thing. Any other questions? Okay, then let's go ahead. Maya dhakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam hetuna anena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Maya adhyakshena prakritihi. Prakritihi maya, that which is responsible for the creation. Okay? Maya adhyakshena, under me, under my order, under my control, if you want to use a word. Okay? Not a good word, but whatever. Okay. Suyate cha charachara. Okay? Prakriti brings forth. It's something like this. Maya by itself cannot act. So, Maya enlivened by the consciousness. Remember, wherever the consciousness is, Maya will be there. Okay? So, Maya draws its awarefulness and its existence from the consciousness. Exactly like how your ignorance draws from your consciousness. Your mind, let us take it the mind, easier to understand. Your mind, how is the mind sentient? Because your consciousness is backing it up. So the sentiency of the mind is the sentiency of your consciousness. Without that, the mind is jada, made up of matter. Okay. So similarly here, Maya itself, he says, is that. So because of Maya adhyakshena, suyate characharam, hetuna anena kaunteya jagad viparimartate. And therefore what? Because of this, the world goes on having its own play, its own change, its own this. What do I do? Sit down, doing nothing. I enliven Prakriti, let Prakriti function. The original MCP, okay? Sitting down doing nothing, the woman is doing everything. That is why in Devi worship they will say, without Shakti, Shiva is like Shava, he cannot do anything, etc., etc., all that stuff. This is the where it all come from. That consciousness does nothing. But the sentiency is lent to the Maya. In the presence of it, Maya is sentient. And Maya's job is to function. Therefore it functions. So when you talk about Ichha, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Ichha, Kriya Shakti, all that belongs to Maya. Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti. All that belongs to Maya. That's why we will use terms like you are endowed with 3 powers. It's not you. You are the consciousness. But you are endowed with these 3 powers. So they function. How do they function? Because it's their nature to function. When sense organs report things to you, it's bound to stimulate thoughts in your mind. And depending upon the nature of thoughts, desire, etc. will come up. Then action, etc. will come up. All because of what? Maya Shakti. Why Maya Shakti? Because you don't know who you are. Because you don't know who you are, there is a sense of lack. There is a sense of identification with the what you are endowed with. So the whole game of life goes on. Okay. Alright. Therefore, Jagat Viparinamate. Okay. Fair enough. So what's the big deal about it? Here, this is the big deal about it. Avajananti ma moodaha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananta mam bhuta maheshwaram. One half of the verse actually. Okay, because you have not yet come across the verb here. Says what happens? Because of Maya, avidya in individual case, avajananti ma moodaha, they don't really know me. Okay. Who doesn't know me? Manushim tanumashritam. Especially the ones who have taken a human birth. Not that an animal birth knows God, okay? Not that way. But he is restricting himself to human behavior. Okay? Therefore he says, Manushim tanumashritam. Those who have taken a human birth, param bhavam ajananta. Muda, they don't know me. Okay? Therefore, param bhavam ajananta, mama bhuta mahesharam. That I am the Lord of all the beings, etc. Okay? That everything exists because of me, consciousness, not knowing that. What happens? Mogashaha, moga karmanaha, moga jnanaha vichetasaha, rakshasim asurim chaiva, prakritim mohinim shrutaha. This is what? Moga ashaha. Okay. Achetasaha san. Put it like this. Vichetasaha san. Because they don't know me, what will happen? I don't know the truth. No, I'm a finite guy. Itna hi hai. Okay. Then, at the same time, I can't help seek fullness. I don't know what fullness means. All that thing I have not yet come. That requires some growth and understanding. No. As it is, things are not fine. I have to become something. In the hope for fullness, which is not stated, not even clear in your own mind, it is just an urge in your mind. That urge will manifest itself as what? Moga, asha, desires. Natural. But what type of desires? Moga, asha, vain, deluded. Why? You are hoping for fulfillment through these desires. If I want a cold drink on a hot day and I think yes fine, I just have cold drink, I am feeling thirsty. No. Arey yaar, maja aayega. I am expecting more than what that desire can give me. That's why moga asha. And then for naturally moga karma. Your action also is like that. Okay? And moga jnana. Your understanding is also clouded. Look at it. However much we progress in the world, and we have come a long way from the first humanity appeared on earth. Okay? From first, forget everything else. Let's take from first time Homo sapiens appeared. The other humanoid form before we are forgetting. Just human beings. What a long way we have come. I mean, we are talking of being able to land on Mars. Come a long way enough from that. Yeah, I'll come to that. Okay. That question that is put up, I'll come to. So, we have come a long way. But in all of them, the reality is missed. We have learned to deal very well with the functioning world. Study it, or, all that. But that knowledge is tainted with one thing, that duality is real. I am a finite being. I have to eke out happiness from the world that I deal with. For that, I need to control, manipulate, exploit the world that I see. All the natural resources, etc., by hook or by crook. If I don't have petrol, I'll buy it from somebody else. No, I'll try to conquer and get it. See, even up to here, up to this level, we have mastered that. If there is a lot of dharma coming in, it will still be a decent life. Yeah, I'm a finite being, I need this, I need that, I need that. But I'll function along with dharma. Individual level, national level. There can be still some balance. It's ignorant. Everyone is ignorant. But there is still some balance in the society. But delusion is high. Desires are high. Value structures get junked. In the belief that what I am doing is right. Every person who does something wrong thinks, no, it is wrong, but in this situation I am right. How did all the colonial powers come? You have to bring civilization to these people. They were far more civilized than you were. They had more wisdom than what you had. I had to bring the word of God to them. They had more better understanding of the word of God than you ever had. In fact, your ideas were primitive. Therefore, what happens? If the dharma goes out, what happens? Then he says, Rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim chitaha. Mohinim, out of delusion, they will take to what? Rakshasim asurim prakriti. Their behavior will become like that. If there is dharma into it, there is a balance, there is humanness in it. But the dharma gets thrown out. If you look at civilizations, that's why civilizations grow and collapse. Because dharma collapses. In fact, I don't know where I read it. Somewhere in my scrolling up and down, I read this. They compared half a dozen older civilizations that has collapsed, and they shown a pattern in it. The fifth, sixth stages are, once you reach the fifth, sixth stage, you cannot reverse the process. USA is crossing the fifth stage to the sixth stage now, right now. That's the time you will generally have a megalomaniac coming in to speed up the process. This is their analysis, okay? I'm not, it seemed logical to me, okay? So, the idea is, dharma goes out of the picture. He doesn't mention it, but it's understood here. Then, Rakshasi Masurim, how the deterioration starts. Until then, even though it is deluded behavior, there is some balance in that delusion. So, knowledge of the world is still within the Maya structure. It is not outside the Maya structure. Even knowledge of the truth, Vedanta, is gained through Maya only. It is not gained outside Maya. So, Maya has both in it. It has got what you call ignorance and a capacity for knowledge. Look at yourself. You have ignorance of the truth. But you have been given 5 pramanas by which you can figure out a lot of things. Perception, inference, etc. You can figure out a lot. So that's also within Maya. And to get out of the whole game of Maya, the 6th pramana, Shabda, also is given. It is available. If you refuse to look into it, now what can I do about it? Most people refuse to look into it. They are not ready for it. It reminds me of a friend of mine. She's a teacher of Vedanta and things like that. So she told her younger sister. Her younger sister is nearing 60, okay? Isn't it time you got involved in Vedanta and things like that? No. I want to come back for 2-3 lifetimes more and have a great time before I come to Vedanta. Not ready. Not emotionally mature. But she's 60. So how many 60-year-olds you will know? How many 80-year-olds you have known? You tell them, hey, Tata, you have lost your wife, etc. It's been 5 years. Why don't you get married again? And what is the answer? 80% of them have given me the same answer. Who will give me a girl? At 80. Come on, yaar. The longing for love, companionship, etc., etc. Why? Because I feel lonely. Why do you feel lonely? Because I'm a finite being. So it all stems from there. The good, the bad, the ugly. Everything stems from this self-ignorance. Dharma means balance. Otherwise, it goes haywire. It can go haywire. So, that's where the whole world is stuck. Then he is painting the other picture. Okay. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha bhajanti ananya manasaha jnatva bhuta adimapyayam. Mahatmanastu. Who's a Mahatma? Atma Mahaniti mam partha devim prakritim ashritaha. They are taken to their higher natures, better natures. Dharma, etc., growth, etc. is there. Therefore, hey Partha, bhajanti ananya manasaha. They worship me ananya manasaha. With the mind that they are taken as themselves as non-different from me. How can they worship you? Jnatva. The knowing itself is a worship there. The knowing itself is a worship. What? Bhutadi avyayam, that I am the source of all beings, etc., unchanging source of all beings, etc. So they are. So even if you seek the knowledge, you are a Mahatma, he says. Okay, yeah. If you are a seeker, you are considered Mahatma. Because you are seeking your identity. See, it's one thing to be a bhakta. Say, oh, God is great, I am nothing. You really think that's a great bhakti? The Lord himself is saying you are everything. And he is saying, no, Lord, I am nothing. Are you supposed to understand what Lord says or not? At least try to understand. That's why in the earlier chapter he had said, 4 types of devotees. Arthi, who prays to the Lord only when he is in trouble. Artharthi, prays to the Lord when he is in trouble, plus when he wants things. Generally, it will be, God, give me that, give me this, give me that, give me that. Or the typical Mumbaiker's prayer. You know what is the Mumbaiker's prayer? Tata ne api ho, Birla ne api ho, money ne te api ho. You are complaining to them. You give Tatas, you give Birlas, you are not giving me anything. Of course, nowadays they have to replace now. Adani, Ambani, etc. bolna padega. Tatas and Birlas are old news, no? They are still great, but they are old news. So, Artha. Then, Jignasu. Now here it is something different. You mean to say Jignasu will not pray for things? Karma Yoga is that. Think the Jignasu will not pray when he is in trouble? Of course he will pray. But there is a plus here. Along with that, he tries to know the truth also. Jnani tu atmaiva me mataha. Jnani and I are, that is fulfillment of bhakti. Bhakti has fulfilled itself into knowledge. Not automatically, by trying to know. Okay. It is never, this is what. Because words like Ananya Bhakti, etc. is used. People think by Bhakti itself everything will happen. By what do you mean by Bhakti? Whatever your acts of devotion are. And you have bhajans also like that. Normal bhajan people are not here today. Okay. Daya aayegi unko kabhi na kabhi, das pavege darshan kabhi na. Okay, so God came and said, hey, Bhakta, here I am. Ask and thou shalt receive. What do you want? What do you ask for? Immediately. No time to think. What will you ask for? Something small. Again, back to square one. No, Swamiji, I am a seeker. I'll ask for this knowledge. The idiots, there are so many teachers around, why don't you learn from them? Yeah, Lord, I'm not going to think you're a great idiot. There's so many teachers, why did you waste so much of time in your tapas instead of learning from them? 20 years you did tapas. Are you getting the idea? That we expect that bhakti will automatically fulfill itself. It won't happen. Yeah, but your devotion, your acts of devotion will bring you in touch with a teacher from whom you can learn. Okay. Yeah, but you have to be able to, something like this. Ishvara Kripa is there. Okay. The Lord has sent. His blessings are there, teaching is available, everything. Where is your Atma Kripa? Atma Kripa is where you are going to commit yourself to that learning. Na? That is not there, what will happen? Nothing. So that is where the whole thing is. Okay. Bhajantya jnatva bhutadi mukhyam. Okay. Okay, so now he is talking about various facets of the seeking. Seeking is one, solution is one, knowledge. But your approach may differ here and there. So a couple of verses he is giving for that. Okay. Satasam kirtiyanto mam yatantascha dhravrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. This is a bhakta I'm talking about. Okay. Satatam kirtiyantam. Always singing my glories. He likes. Going for a walk also, some bhajan is playing in his head. Okay. That's all. It's good. Achha. Why not? You can put the latest rap song on or you can put a bhajan on. It is okay. Either way is fine. It only shows what you are. Satantam kirtayantam. Yatantascha dhridavrataha. Have you seen a bhakta not following some vratas? Ekadashi nahi khayega, Monday nahi khayega, Thursday nahi khayega. Something or the other they will follow, which is good. Nobody is saying this thing. Yeah. Dhridavrataha. Yeah. In fact, sometimes the thing is there in communities also, like among the Maharashtrians. I think Monday, Thursday, Saturday. Even if they are a non-vegetarian family, they will not have meat. As a community. I had a Maharashtrian friend. The mother would tell her, go, call your friend today. I am making only vegetarian today. He can have his dinner with us. Why? That lady thought If you're making only vegetarian food, she's wasting her cooking. So she would want someone like me to come as a guest so that she can make something interesting. Dridhavrataha, yatantascha dridhavrataha. Okay, this is dridhavrataha. I mean, this can go anything. I'll do Sri Vidya Upasana. Sri Vidya Upasana means 15 years straight you'll require for it. Yeah, because you have to take, some 9 mantras have to be, Purascharan has to be done for about 9 mantras. So it's a lot of time and effort goes into that. Yeah. And after every lakh you're supposed to do a homa. If you can't do a homa, you have to do 10,000 more japas. So, Dridha Vrata, करना क्या है कर लो. Okay. Dridha Vrata. Namasyantascha maam bhaktya. And again they surrender themselves to me. Why again and again? Because एक बार में नहीं होता है. एक बार में नहीं होता है. Remember in the Saddarshanam what we saw? Surrender is one. He says, no, out of fear of the death, I surrender to the Lord of death. Ata svabhavat amrutasya teshu. By svabhava you are amrutaha. Then katam mrityu bhyo avakashaha. Where is the fear of death, etc. coming in? Because surrender is one, but it doesn't happen. Because there is that, out of ignorance and emotion, both are resistant to it. Resistance to it. It's exactly like a marriage. You're in love with this person. Married. अभी शादी हो गया ना. अभी क्या? You're married. Commitment, everything is done. No. Enough. Or you have to tell each other still, hey, I love you. I mean, may not be morning, evening, morning, afternoon, evening every day. It's nice. Some people say nice if it is morning, afternoon, evening. But कम से कम कभी ना कभी तो बोलना पड़ता है ना. Why? Otherwise, the romance will dry in the pots and pans of the kitchen. I mean, in your day-to-day work, it will all die off. No? You're so busy managing life, you forgot the other things. So same way here, hey, you're supposed to surrender to the Lord. Hare Krishna, Namasyanta Maha. भूल जाता है. Because it's an emotional thing, remember that. Emotions come and go. आगे पीछे हो सकते हैं. Can be more or less, no? I mean, that's the very nature of emotions. There is nothing called Nirguna Upasana. This is the question. What is Kirtanam for a Nirguna Upasaka? Nirguna means Brahman without any quality. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. The pure consciousness is called Nirguna. The pure consciousness is not meant for Upasana. It is meant for knowing. Therefore, really speaking, there is nothing called Nirguna Upasana. Upasana is an act of bhakti. An act of bhakti is always to Saguna. Nirguna is a matter for knowing. Therefore, you can say, my very Shravana Mana Nididhyasanam itself is Nirguna Upasana. There is no other thing. This is a big mistake people make. That Nirguna is an Upasana. No. All Upasana is towards Saguna. Because how can you do Upasana on Nirgunam, tell me? The closest you can come is what Shankara has written in his Parapuja. There's attributed to Shankara called Parapuja. He says, how will I offer an asanam to the limitlessness? How will I offer Abhisheka to the one who is everywhere? This is Parapuja. Okay, he says, make statement. So what is he doing? At every step of the puja, he is reminding that there is nothing but limitless consciousness. So it's actually becoming Nididhyasana. For Nididhyasanam, enough Shravanam should have been done before. Shravana Mananam should have been done. Only then Nididhyasanam can be done. So otherwise there is no direct Nirguna Upasana. All Upasana is Saguna. Okay. Alright. So, Namasyante Mam Bhaktya Nitya Yuktaha Upasate. Therefore, Nitya Yuktaha San Upasate. He is worshipping me. Nitya Yukta, regularly, constantly. Yeah, Karthik, you have a question.
Swamiji, I've heard this thing called Ahamgraha Upasana.
Ahamgraha, okay. Now, Ahamgraha Upasana is, okay, without really understanding the Lord and you are one and the same, you are conceptualizing the Lord and you are one and the same. This you will find in some practices, like, this is extreme form of Ahamgraha, but to understand. Shivam Bhutva Shivam Bhajet. For example, Shivam Bhuta, after being Shiva, you worship Shiva. Now, how will I be Shiva? मैं तो इंसान हूँ, मैं शिवा कैसा हूँ? How will I become Shiva? So then they will live like that. Live in rags. Put vibhuti all over your body. Let your hair grow out. No grooming. Jatadhari. This is an extreme form, okay, of Ahamgraha Upasana. But just so that you will understand what it is. So that Shivam Bhutva Shivam Bhajet. Okay. Or milder versions. Be a bit reclusive. Because Shiva was like that. Spend time in meditation, etc. So it depends on the deity now. How the Ahamgraha Upasana will take place. So it is like you are conceptualizing it. That with your full knowledge that you and the deity is one and the same, for that you have to look into the Nirguna aspect of it. Without that, at the Saguna level itself, you are trying to do some sort of Ahamgraha. So invoking, in other words, or in modern days, in a simpler way, you are invoking the same energies in you. Aloopness, Vairagya, Jnanam, knowledge. Okay? Or power, Devi. No. Navratri chalu hai na. So invoke power, Shakti, warrior spirit. Invoke all that into yourself. That's another form of Ahamgraha Upasana.
And for Vedanta students, is this something that is prescribed? Or?
As a sadhana, you can take it up.
Okay.
It is not prescribed in the sense. It depends on each person, what appeals to them, depending upon what they have done in countless lifetimes before.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is not only that. This Ahamgraha Upasana works in other places also. I have seen this among the Gurkhas. Okay. The war cry enables that. That Gurkha war cry is very different from many other war cries. Okay? Because they will say, Jai Mahakali, Ayo Gurkhali. So they invoke that Mahakali spirit in themselves because of the battlefield. And the answer, if one shouts that, the crowd will, the regiment will respond saying, Gurkhali Ayo Re. The Gurkhas are coming, So in a way it is Ahamgraha. You are invoking that. So Ahamgraha Upasana also in spirit can function many ways. As a ritual, there is a prescribed format for it. Okay. Part of it, those who do puja and all that, Anganyasa, etc., is a very small part of it. You invoke, you will take a mantra, Haim, Klim, all that, Anganyasa that you do, all that is part of it. Yeah. So to a small extent it comes in, but much more it is. So that is what Ahangra Upasana is about.
Sure, thank you, sir.
Or the spirit of it. So the spirit comes in. In fact, sometimes I think those Gurkha warriors are much greater Ahangra Upasakas than some of them who I have seen doing it in a puja room. Why? They brought it into their lives here. Come on. The near fearlessness with which they find. So that's all Mahakali at work, okay. We have a very, how do you call, isolated idea of what bhakti and upasana is about. It has got no meaning unless it's extended from the puja room to your day-to-day living. Honestly, if your bhakti remains in a puja room, it's good for punya. That's all, not for growth. Growth happens when you extend that into your life. Otherwise, it won't happen. No growth will happen. So you leave it in the puja room and come. You invoke it in the puja room and leave it in the puja room. Come on. You're as useless as ever when you come in the world. Thoda punya mila. Acha. Good. Nothing more than that. Growth happens when you extend that bhakti to life. That's why he says Nitya Yuktaha Upasate. Yes, I made that clear. Nitya Yuktaha. Always means what? Not half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. Right through your whole day. See, we had this in our culture, it's forgotten. When you eat, what do you do? Brahmarpanam first, no? Pranaya Swaha, Panaya Swaha. Why? That's part of yoga. This thing of invoking Ishvara. If you look at the traditional rules and regulations, today's world, you won't be able to follow it. When you see a people tree or an Ashwatha tree, you are supposed to think of the Lord. When you see a temple, you are supposed to think of the Lord. When you cross 4 roads, you better think of the Lord. So all this, at any stage you are thinking of the Lord. You are deliberately bringing that in, so that your bhakti, every moment to moment, it is there. See a cow, you think of the Lord. You see an elephant, you think of the Lord. Because these are all normal things, no? Ashwatha tree, banyan tree, all that, you think of the Lord. Today's world, you have to go searching for an Ashwatha tree. There's one just outside my building. So, all this was for what? Nitya Yuktaha, making it Nitya. All these practices came up to make it Nitya Yuktaha. Especially that 4 roads. Where I understood the meaning of that 4 roads, think of the Lord. I got into a cab in Delhi many years ago. So we were driving a bit recklessly, Delhi drivers, those days. I'm talking about 40 years back, 50 years back. Reckless. Red signal, he drove through. I said, Munde, signal lal tha. Haan, lal tha. Next signal, again he drives through. I said, Bhai sahab, kya kar rahe ho aap? What are you doing? Red signal ring. Says, Maharaj ji, हम लोग 4 भाई है इधर, सब टैक्सी चलाता है, सब ऐसे ही चलाता है, अभी तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो गया. सर ओके, लॉर्ड विल सेव यू. Then at one place it was green, the light turned to green. He's slowing down. He said, अरे हरा रंग है, where are you slowing down now? शायद मेरा भाई दूसरा साइड से आ रहा हो. My brother may be coming from the other side. The idea is, even if you follow the laws, other may not follow. So think of the Lord. Okay. Yeah. So the idea is, at all times, think of the Lord. Nitya Yuktaha Upasate. So the whole focus was on making it Nitya Yuktaha. Okay, that constantly Lord is not out of sight, out of mind. He's always there in your this thing. Okay. So this is one way of doing it. Okay. Another way you want to hear another this thing. Jnana yajnena chapyante yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pratatvena bahuda vishyato mukham. Jnana yajnena, by the jnana yajna. What is jnana yajna? You offer your ignorance into the fire of knowledge. Meaning you learn. What you are doing here? Jnana yajna. Jnana yajna. Anyehi yajanto mam upasate. It's another form of upasana. Why? You are trying to know the swarupa of the Lord. No? When you do a worship and a puja, you are worshipping the form of the Lord. When you are learning Vedanta, you are worshipping the swarupa of the Lord, or the true nature of the Lord. So the study of Vedanta itself becomes a worship. Yeah, itself becomes a worship. So to one who is studying every day, do you need separate worship? No. Unless the bhakti for karma yoga is missing in your life. If that bhakti for karma yoga is missing, do some simple things to get that bhakti out. But otherwise, your study itself is a worship to the swarupa of the Lord. This is why people will say, oh, I am doing nirguna upasana. It's not upasana, okay? It's not upasana. You are trying to know the Lord. And if you are doing it by yourself, etc., after you have finished the learning, then it becomes nididhyasana, contemplation. So either it is study or it is contemplation. Okay? Yeah. Therefore, jnana yajnena mam upasate. Then he says, ekatvena pratatvena. Either as one or as one who is many faceted, who has appeared as many. Okay? Bahuda vishyato mukham. Okay. Whole lot is available. What do you want to do? The idea is what? You need to have bhakti in your day-to-day life. If understanding gives you that bhakti, you are great. Fine. You understood Ishvara is abhinna nimitta upadana karma. Okay, the material efficient cause of the whole world. You understood that. And from that understanding, you have a sense of devotion. Everything is sacred. Everything is Ishvara's order. Everything works. If it doesn't work, it's also Ishvara's order. Like somebody has written a book. Says also all the planets are moving in their in their orbit without bumping into each other. That shows Ishvara's intelligence. But somebody said, what if they bump into each other? That's also Ishvara's order. Some laws function differently and it happens like that. That's also Ishvara's order. So, if you understand that and this thing, fine. You don't need any worship. That understanding was enough for you to feel the sacredness of the universe. Great. Nahi hota hai. Then you pick up an act of devotion that will help you manifest that devotion. An action is meant to help you manifest the devotion that is there in you but hidden, buried under a lot of other things. Okay. So, for that, you pick up whatever you want. The whole spread out. He is going to mention a few now, from now on. The whole thing is spread out. What do you want? Pick and choose. That's why we have so many forms of Ishvara in our life. No? Knowing that Ishvara is only one, how many forms we have in our life? Millions. It is not pantheism. Because pantheism and monotheism are opposed to each other. Monotheism is only there is one form of God, that is it. Whatever you call it. Then my God is formless. Oh, really? You understood the formlessness of? Yeah. And where is your formless God? Sitting in heaven. How can the formless be located in a place? That means you don't understood what formless is. My God, it is like this, like this, like this. That's the only God that is there. That is monotheism. Pantheism is what the Greeks talked about. God of agriculture, God of war, God of music, God of wisdom, God of beauty, God of this, everything there. So there is a sacredness about it, but there is a distinction between one and the other. So the God of wisdom and the God of war can be opposed to each other. Then you need an overseeing figure, Zeus, etc., keeping everything under order. What happens when his life goes in? He creates a disorder. That also has happened. If you read Greek mythology, that has also happened. That is pantheism. India is neither monotheism nor pantheism. Okay. For us, Ishvara is one. There is only Ishvara. There is nothing separate from Ishvara. The whole universe is a manifestation of Ishvara. So there is no me and God. Form, my form is included in his form. Reality, he and I are one consciousness. This is what the Advaita thinking is about. Now, for practical purposes, if this cannot be understood, if you don't see the sacredness by just understanding God, we invoke in different forms. That invocation is purely personal, depending upon what is there in your psyche, what you can relate to. Why should God be always a man? No. Invoke him as a woman, no issues. I mean, we have 4 Navratris in a year, actually speaking. The main Navratri, Sharada Navratri, everyone celebrates. But this Ram Navami, Chaitra Navratri we call it, that's also celebrated. There are 2 more, but they are called Gupta Navratris, not celebrated publicly. But Devi Upasikas will celebrate it. So, fine. What do you want to invoke Devi as? You tell me, how do you like her? Mother figure. What type of mother figure? Gentle, loving, kind, etc. Lalita, Lakshmi, wealth, prosperity, etc. Lakshmi. No, some fierce figure. Durga, fierce enough for you? Or you want fiercer forms? Mahakali. Mother figure, Amazonian, Durga. More fierce. Take Bhadrakali. Pratyangiri. Bagalamukhi. Some of the forms you won't be able to relate to. The great forms, but you may not be able to relate to that. That's okay. So, what do you want? Male forms, we have plenty. Rama, Krishna, Dasdara, etc. Shiva. And you will limit the form in keeping with your psyche. Shiva is source of all knowledge. Shiva is nothing but Ishvara. See, when a Vedanta looks, Shiva, nothing but Ishvara. Durga, nothing but Ishvara. Everything. Otherwise, you say, no, Shiva is for me is only Adi Guru, Adi Yogi, that's it, nothing more than that. Because your mind is limited only to yoga. You think bending your body and doing this is yoga. Okay, fine. That is what is yoga about. Then only Adi Yogi. So you are limiting it further. That's okay. If that's all you can relate to, start from where you are. Start from where you are. So, any form of worship is fine. Why? You get the bhakti out. Once you get that bhakti, extend it to life. That's Karma Yoga. Nitya Yukta Upasate only works only then. Until you know the truth. Until you know the truth. So any form of worship is fine. So how do you choose what is fit for you? Simplest way is go by your Ishta Devata. By your psyche, what you can relate to. That's the simplest, easiest way. Or go by your Kula Deva, what your ancestors have worshipped. There's a grace about that. Because for years, Your ancestors worship this. There's a grace flowing across generations. You pick up your Kula Devata. Even if your Ishta Devata is different from your Kula Devata, acknowledge your Kula Devata once a year at least. If daily you can acknowledge, great. But Kula Devata. Otherwise go by what your horoscope says. Mangal is strong in your horoscope. So for you, Devi worship is the right thing. Or Guru is weak. Guru means Jupiter is weak. You need some Vishnu worship in your life. Yeah, by what you need, go by that. Yeah. Shari is problematic position. Worship Shiva. So various ways of selecting. Easiest, simplest, go by your psyche. The simplest one. What is there? What you can relate to? So that is in terms of forms, etc. Okay. Today, because today the worship is more Puranic. But here in the Gita, he talks about the Vedic aspect also, and gives you, okay, a few worship or worships. Okay. Half a dozen, not more. Okay. Why? Because how do you relate? It's also to show you what bhakti is about. The main idea is not to isolate bhakti. Half an hour morning, half an hour evening. Nitya Japta. If you're a bhakta, you're always a bhakta. And Swamiji, I don't like to identify myself as a bhakta. You don't have to, because bhakti can have in various ways. Generally, we think of bhakti is because south it is puja part, north it is bhajan singing. Then I'll never be a bhakta. Bhakti is seva also. Yeah. I have said this n number of times, right here. The gopis bhakti, the soldiers bhakti, is Narayani seva, Narayani Sena's bhakti. This gopis. Each has his own dimensions to it. Each is great in his own way. So, do you really expect a rough and tough Narayani Sena character to go and do Ras Leela? I mean, he may be able to do the Ras Leela because he's got good footwork. He's a warrior, remember that. His footwork will be good. But apart from that, he may feel out of sorts. Do you expect the gopis to pick up a lance and fight? They are used to picking up milk pots. 2-3 kilo hai. Lance is 20 kilos. You have to, for a charge, you need a heavy weapon to break through enemy ranks. It's different. So, that's fine. To each his own. All are bhaktas in their own way. In fact, the warrior's bhakti is more difficult. I'm putting my life on the line. It looks fearless, but it is overcoming fear. It's courageous, not fearless. It's courageous. Like some of the most courageous men I have known. He is acknowledged, awarded medals for bravery, etc., etc. He says, I almost peed in my pants that day. He says that, I almost peed in my pants. It was such a frightening situation. But I did what had to be done. Yeah, that is courage. Yeah. So that type of courage and bhakti requires a plus there. Yeah. So each is own. So here we will, but those details we will see next class. Okay. Good place to stop. Oh, that's
Pranam. Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank